You have to know 30% of the export comes up from Upper Austria. We have big companies like the first big companies like AC. That's why it's quite interesting to come to Upper Austria and to work together with these companies. We have a good ecosystem out of the universities, of the University of Applied Science. You get well-developed students with much knowledge. So I would say it makes sense to come to Upper Austria and work together with our leading industries companies.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About Tech. In today's edition, it's my great pleasure to welcome Johannes Pracher from Erste Bank in Upper Austria, who's leading Startrampe, which is an innovation hub of the local bank. Hi, Johannes.
Hello, Berthold. Thanks for having me.
It's a great pleasure to have you. You have been moving a lot of things in your area, which is known as the industrial hub here in Austria. But let's start with your background. You come from an entrepreneurial family yourself and decided to go into banking. How did that come about?
Yeah, it was a little bit an accident. I studied economics at the Johannes Capital University, and therefore I decided to focus myself on business development and founding companies. And yeah, my father said, "Hey, would you like to start your own company, because we are out from a typical business family." And I decided with a friend to found a startup. This was quite a good lesson to learn how a startup doesn't work, because we really made every failure you can do. But it was a good lesson for me, because nowadays I know how a startup doesn't work and how business works, and that's good for the company, for the startups I'm able to support and to be the mentor. So I did my classes at the university, and afterwards I thought, you should learn a little bit more about finance. You should learn a little bit more of banking. And I started my first job at another regional bank in corporate banking. And after 1 year, I decided that the bank is quite a good company, but I'm the wrong person for doing corporate banking. And so I went back to the university, and therefore I was 5 years the head of the career center and the startup center. And after this 5 years, I went to Startup 300. I was there the manager for the Factory 300, so the incubation space and the open space of Startup 300, located in the Tabakfabrik. And at this time, the Sparkasse Upper Austria, the member of the Erste Group, founded their startup hub, and they came to me and asked, "Hey, Johannes, we know that you're the only guy in Upper Austria who has no knowledge about founding startups, and who is the only one who has some experience in working at the bank. So do you like to lead, to develop our startup hub?" And I said, "Yeah, that sounds good." And then I went back to the bank. Obviously, I always said no banking anymore, but that's one of the big lesson: never say no, never say never.
We'll dive into the offering that you today have in your regional bank. Looking at this startup and innovation hub, you have 600 square meters. It's quite big, right?
Yeah.
And now the city of Linz is not so big, right? How do you fill this with talent?
The talents come to us.
So the region is a magnet.
Yeah, the region. You have to know the Tabakfabrik is the innovation hub of Upper Austria. This is the one side, and the other side is we do a lot of entrepreneurial knowledge. We are content provider. Together with the I don't know the English word, it's the Bildungsdirektion, it's the part of the government.
The educational center of the government.
Yeah, genau, that's the educational center of the government. We developed special classes for pupils and students in founding startups. So we have about 50 to 70 school classes every year here at the Startrampe, where we develop together startup ideas. We have with the a University of Applied Science, we have also a class that's called Wanna Be Founder. And in one semester, you learn how to found, how to develop your own startup. So we do a lot of content. We are a content provider, and therefore we are known. And that's why everybody who wants to found a business or wants to found a startup is coming to us. And that's the one part. And the second part is we have we're quite a innovative space, and people who are looking for an innovative space, they have to come to us because we're the only one who offers this.
Right, and regionally is quite interesting. I mean, it's close to the German borders. You have a lot of hidden champions in the region, so European and world market leading companies. They are all desperate for innovation and tech, right? They all see that they get blindsided if they don't collaborate. And here the education also goes into this direction, right? Into the direction of co-creation, working with those leading SMEs and corporates, I would assume.
Yeah, that's it. We talk with the innovation managers of the corporates because working with a corporate has some let's Fallstricke.
Some, I would say, pivotal traps.
Yeah, some traps. Because if you work with a corporate, you have to have a really long runway, and you have to have enough resources to work together with them. And the most corporates doesn't know this because they think it's normal that a project is about 6 to 12 months. But for a lot of startups, this is a really long time if they can start this project. So we talk them. We try to develop them. How do you, which skills, which knowledge do you have to work together with startups? So this is one part. And the second part is that we talk with startups and we try to help them to understand corporates, how corporates think, how corporates work. And both sides are quite good for a lot of founders and startups in our region and our ecosystem.
That's very interesting. We had John Kochiro Moribaka here from Japan in an interview just lately. And he told us he's doing role plays with corporates, right? He puts them into the shoes of a startup founder, tells them now you don't have any funding, right? And now you need to pitch me as a corporate, right, to collaborate with me, because this way they easily find out that they should actually finance upfront the innovation and not wait for them to develop it ourselves. And to be honest, as an investor, I would also appreciate if the corporates would take the little investment that is needed to help startups to actually build the products that they need and to also give them the runway that they need to navigate through bureaucracy. What is your learning? Do corporates today invest enough resources into those startup collaborations?
If the pain is big enough, they do it. But if they don't feel the pain, then sometimes they think, okay, it's quite nice to try something out, but if they have the pain, or if they see it, or if they have a CEO, that's one of the most important things. If there is a CEO or a CTO who knows about the future and who knows about the problems they will get if they don't be innovative anymore, then they put enough effort, time, and money into this collaboration in these projects. But that's a quite good idea. I will take this the next time if there is some corporate innovation manager, and we say, hey, well, let's feel how to be a startup.
I mean, it should be quite synergetical. I know that you also do have an investment vehicle, right? So you as a bank, you can also jump in not only with credit lines, right? Where most of the startups don't have the track record, they don't have the revenues, the KPIs just don't match credit lines today, right? So they need equity, and you have this equity vehicle. So why not co-invest with them?
That's one of them. That's a good idea. That's one of the reasons why we started with the investment vehicle. But to be honest, the Sparkasse Upper Austria is about 175 years old. And since a half year, we have this investment vehicle. So we have to learn how equity investing is all about. So we don't have the experience, but that's one of the reasons why we started this with this vehicle, and that's one of the reasons why how we want to support startups in development. For example, giving for solutions we can't do ourselves, and also for the ecosystem here in Upper Austria. So we have to learn also how investment works. So perhaps you can tell us, and we can learn from your company how startup investment works.
Certainly, always happy to build bridges. What I see when I look at Upper Austria is we have the Upper Austrian High Tech Fund from the government doing seed and early stage, quite sizable. We have your fund with a.
We are also invested there. We are also part of the high tech fund.
The bank itself is also a strong LP in that fund. Now you have your fund with 50 million under management, which is more for scale ups. And then I compare this to our national initiative, where we have the so-called Gründungsfonds, so the founders fund of the country of Austria, with only 75 million. So it looks like the funding environment actually in Upper Austria is much better. Are you focused purely on Upper Austrian companies, or could you actually invest also in companies that have a great potential outside of your state?
We just have to find a step to Upper Austria. So if the founder is out from Upper Austria, or his wife, or somebody in this founder team, that will find a way to invest. But for us, it's also important to develop the Upper Austrian system, the ecosystem there, because we know, and like you said already, we are the economic, the industrial heart of Austria, and we want to develop this industrial heart to be the technological heart of Austria. And that's very important for the ecosystem and for us as bank also.
For our international audience, to give them a little bit an idea in how strong the small country of Austria is when it comes to leading SMEs, so world-leading, European-leading SMEs. I have one figure in the back of my head, which is around 258 hidden champions by EU definition. So those world and European-leading companies, they are with a large proportion located in Upper Austria, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. You have to know 30% of the export comes up from Upper Austria. We have big companies like the First, big companies like ASIM, so really world market leaders. And that's why it's quite interesting to come to Upper Austria and to work together with these companies. We have a good ecosystem out of the universities, of the University of Applied Science. So you get well-developed students with much experience and with much knowledge. So I would say it makes sense to come to Austria and work together, to Upper Austria, and work together with our leading industries companies.
So it's today, I would say the leading companies are in the fields of commodities, like the steel industry, in industrial chemistry, material sciences, machinery, automotive suppliers. I know that there's also some companies that are in the aviation space as very important
FCC,
suppliers. And many, many others of those leading SMEs. Now, the next generation of hidden champions that you see, that you work with, are they in similar spaces, or are they also in tech spaces where Silicon Valley claims that they are hub number one in the world?
Hopefully, we are this hub. I know some really good startups, Blockbit. We are really, I think this could be one of the the biggest game changer in the crypto market, especially to connection to the normal financial market. So hopefully Upper Austria will be this Silicon Valley. We do everything for it, that this place will develop at this itself. But to be honest, we have to do our homeworks to change our mindset and to show the politicians that investing in startups is one of the most successful things. If you look into the future, you get one of the highest revenues back.
Already this interview is great because, we started with your own story of failure, and we embrace failure at Venionaire. Failure is something good. It's better than any MBA. You can spend a lot of money in Harvard and learn literally 10% of that. So having experienced how growth works and how it doesn't work, right, yourself, this actually empowered you to help startups now better than you did before. A second element that you told us is that you do capacity building. So you actually educate and you embrace entrepreneurship with students at very early days to actually give them a mindset that finding an idea and actually going through and powering through and actually building a company, building jobs is something great. I think this is actually where we need to start, right? To change the mindset in Austria where people tend to become public servants or corporate employees rather than entrepreneurs. What else is needed in terms of regional development? What would you, if you could make a wish, right? And our Jin here would say yes. What would be your wish?
A wish would be that if you invest in startups or in scale-ups also, it should be tax-free. So you can, so that I think it's not the mission of the government to invest in startups. They should make the rules that it's easy to invest. So make out the tax system, make it attractive to invest in startups, to develop companies, to develop people, and also give big corporates the chances that they can develop entrepreneurship, so that there is a room for making failure and to collaborate with young companies. So if this would be possible, this would be my wish.
France has actually done a great job. They told their institutional investors, so pension funds, insurances, if you invest in venture funds in France, you can actually have a tax discount.
Yeah,
right?
This would be great.
And this unlocked millions, right? Really, really large amounts of money also here in Austria are locked up with institutional investors. And maybe it's hard for the government, right, to give rich people a tax discount because usually investors are rich people, right? But maybe it's easier for them to find incentives for institutionals to unlock these gigantic pools of money, to bring those into play and have more venture funds.
If you say rich, yeah. But let me say one thing. If rich people are really incentivized to invest in startups, I think this would be quite amazing, because they would put also more money into the ecosystem, into this whole startup ecosystem. This would be so important, because what do? They make their funds anywhere in the whole world where they get these tax discounts, and I think it's better to have this family offices, these funds here in Austria. With the downside that the rich people get more tax discounts, but I think for our ecosystem this would quite be important, so that we can develop it, and that other big companies come here to Austria, that innovative companies come here to Austria, that they pay taxes there, because if they are here, they have employees, and if they have employees, they have to pay taxes. And we both know if you are employer in Austria, you have to pay much taxes.
That's true. But in the end, I mean, you have good living quality, right? And it's the wealth that we build as entrepreneurs and as investors here. But we have to have this mindset, right? That this is not built out of the ATM, right? Energy doesn't come out of the box, right? The same as money doesn't just jump out of the ATM at the bank. It needs to be put at work, right? It needs to be returned with profits. It was great talking with you. One last sentence, like a closing statement. If our audience wants to reach out and wants to consider engaging with the ecosystem in Upper Austria, what would be your take? Like, whom would you invite for which offering?
If you are crazy enough to come to Upper Austria, if you are bold enough to pitch your ideas for traditional SMEs, we will connect you to these SMEs. We will support you by getting the right people there, and we offer you an ecosystem which in a country with one of the highest living standards in the world. And if we can't offer you new money, we can offer you one of the best beers in the world and quite a nice space to work. So I think that's an amazing area here, and quite enough arguments to come to Upper Austria.
I always love it how Austria plays low key. In the end, if you want to unlock global markets and want to get linked to hidden champions that already have the world market at their fingertips and you want to collaborate with them, he's your guy. Please subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for the next episode. It was great having you.
Thank you, Berthold. And one of the most important things is believe in yourself, or like we say in Austria, glaub an dich.